What's up YouTube? Capital G here. Got 3 casual Rocket duels for you guys to check out. I've been watching a little bit of Rockets, and it seems like a deck that's definitely more suited for the anime and not for competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! I really think that the field spell will definitely help the deck, but it does not fix the problems. The problem with Rockets is it is still incredibly slow as a deck, and there are so many better decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! That summon Borolo Dragon than this archetype, but I believe that this archetype does make the most out of Borolo Dragon, being able to pop your own cards, have them replace themselves, and then you also just get like bonus effects and your Borolo Dragon is on the field kind of doing work. Like, that's definitely nice, but I don't know, they need something else in this damn archetype. I think Supply Squad could actually help. I know people might say that it's a little slow, but you will see throughout the course of these duels why, if I was building Rockets, I would probably put 3 Scapegoat in this damn deck, because there's just so many opportunities. I know you guys are like, Cap, stop talking about scapegoats, but let me go ahead and shut up and roll this. So first duel is against Jack Knights, and again, this is kind of a terrible build of Jack Knights. For starters, you do not run Senate Switch, and basically any deck in the Vrain's era, it's a terrible card, but Jack Knights don't need to be running Senate Switch. As soon as I saw him running Senate Switch at the top, I was like, okay, I can pretty much just take this with a grain of salt, because he's running a terrible version, and you know, this is why he opens up with multiple copies of Senate Switch, and he basically just kind of gets played around with as his opponent uses the Squib Draw, and then he doesn't really have any plays. That's one of the reasons why Jack Knights run like Grinder Golem, because it's a way of forcing a card onto their opponent's side of the field so they can do stuff. Reasoning I think I'm okay with, because the Jack Knights are different levels, but if you look at his field, yeah, it looks really nice because there's all these cards on the board, but like, okay, the Senate Switch is doing nothing, the second copy is doing super nothing, and then he has 2 neg-2 or 2 neg-1 cards and Transmodify and Downbeat, and it's like you're running all of these cards that rely on you having monsters on the field to work, rather than cards that actually put monsters on the field. So, you know, just a little deck building 101 there, guys. So anyways, I believe he's just going to get completely blown out by Evenly Match, which, by the way, that card is just, there's a reason why I put that card in like every deck, because your opponent overextends for no reason like that. You use Evenly Match and you basically win the duel. He now has Borolo Dragon finally on board, but that was summoned with Gofu, and his opponent immediately scoops it up. I don't think Jack Knights would be, like, they're not a deck that is suited to play uphill, and then on top of that, they don't really have easy outs to Borolo Dragon to begin with. Their Master Hyperion obviously can't target the Borolo Dragon. I believe his name is Red Lotus. Yeah, Jack Knight of Red Lotus. So he just automatically scoops it up, and just so many mistakes from that first duel, but, you know, you could kind of take that one with a grain of salt. Next up is Magical Musketeers. And I keep saying this, I'm going to say it until the end of time. I think that most of the people, I know people don't like when I say this, but I don't care. Most of the people who play Magical Musketeers are just, they're terrible with the deck. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to keep saying it until you guys, until they're, I'm not going to say you guys, because I don't know what you guys play, but until Magical Musketeer players like collectively just get good, I'm just going to keep saying that. I mean, he opens with a level 4. He doesn't activate Ties of the Brethren for, I don't know, some unexplained reason, which obviously would have just, it would have been 2,000 life points, but he would have gotten 2 more monsters on the field. I mean, Magical Musketeers have level 3s and level 4s, so he just misses out on his opportunity to actually, you know, establish a board. And I don't know, I feel like that was definitely a mistake, because if he gets Kaiji right here, he pretty much just auto loses the duel, because everything else in his hand is just like 4 dead cards. So he gets a little value by activating his dark bribe of sorts. I believe he's going to activate her effect and get Shooter Casper, which is definitely nice, but his opponent does have Borolo Dragon on the field now. It can be targeted by the spells and traps, so keep that in mind. And Rockets are doing a pretty nice job right now. He's going to go ahead and try and make the attack of the Borolo Dragon 0, but he is going to chain Borolo, and that does at least pop a card. Even though Borolo didn't actually kill Shooter Casper, it's fine. The reason Borolo Dragon didn't take the Shooter Casper is that Borolo Dragon obviously has no effect. He's going to MST the field spell, which should activate Shooter Casper's effect. No, I think he's going to chain it, and Shooter Casper is going to get blown up if I'm not mistaken. No, it just gets negated. So now when he activates the copy of Ties of Brethren, he doesn't get Shooter Casper's effect. And now, since he doesn't have any spells and traps or any of the Magical Musketeer spells and traps in his hand, the deck doesn't do anything anymore. Like, the deck needs a good balance of the spells and traps and the monsters. So when he had the spells and traps, like, he didn't use them properly and get his pluses. And now, I mean, Borreload's just gonna fucking go to town. As you can see, he clearly has enough monsters on the board. I know you think this proxy summoning, like going for proxy dragon, I don't even think this is necessary, but he's going to wipe out 2 cards there. Borreload's going to take his last monster, and Magical Musketeers are not going to top deck their way out of this, especially if he doesn't draw a monster. Yeah, he draws a trap, and obviously he goes, he scoops it up. But this is the real test. He's playing against Pendulum Magicians, and when I saw the Pendulum Magician player's opening hand, I tried to look. I was like, let me see here. I'm trying to look, because obviously the first 2 duels were against people who were playing like suboptimal builds or just making massive misplays. I was like, how is this guy going to screw this duel up? But let's go ahead and roll it. Let me go ahead and swap this. And you know, when he ran into a competitive deck, it was like night and day, man. And it does show you some of the struggles that Rockets have as a deck. Now, I don't think he's playing any hand traps, which, you know, guys, in 2017, hand traps are definitely something you want to play. But he actually kind of gets through it okay, even though Pendulums open up remarkably. You know, he gets a Toon Magician. As soon as I saw that, I was like, he's going to Omega him. But he goes for Electrum. I don't know. Okay, so he has Maxine, he has Joker. Would it have been better to just Omega him and get a card out of his hand? I kind of feel like that would have been better, because maybe he would have sniped out the evenly matched. He activates that, completely blows him out. Now, the thing is, if you look at the Pendulum player's hand, it's still pretty good because he has Joker and Max C. So don't think that he's out of this duel quite yet. And he does max see him. He's going to get a free card. If I was the Rokket player, I would not have summoned. I think that was incredibly silly, because you just gave your opponent a +1. And now off of Desires, he's basically right where he was again. And Rockets are not going to outgrind. You're not going to outgrind Pendulum Magicians. This is one of my problems with the deck. You see how you go second? He blew out his opponent completely, and then he has like no plays. He just like summons a random rocket in defense mode. It's like, wow, this is what this deck does. You have a completely empty field from Pendulum Magicians, and your play is just to like summon 1 rocket and pass. Like this is why the deck needs things like Scapegoat, so that you can have like 1 card. Obviously, Scapegoat would not have been used in his first turn, but imagine if he had like Scapegoat at some other point of this duel. Now the duel feels like it's kind of out of control. I believe he's going to fight back a little bit. He makes, is that Encode? That's not Encode Talker, right? Underclock Talker? Taker, excuse me. Every time I see T-A-K, I just assume Talker, because we have so many Talker monsters. He's able to get rid of the Tornado Dragon, but that's just the start of his problems. The Field Spell definitely helps him get more monsters on the board. The problem is, Borreload isn't that difficult for Pendulum players to actually kill, because they have the Pendulum Scales. The Pendulum Scales obviously activate a spell effect, so, you know, they can easily target Borreload with that. And I believe that that's what he's going to do. Even if he didn't, he did have the Pendulum Graph Trap card. So that's, you know, another way of actually trying to out Borreload. And man, once again, a massive Pendulum summon. Borreload is going to get rid of, that was not Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. That was the what's it called? I think that was the Zark version. He's going to summon one of his monsters during the end phase, one of his rockets, but you can kind of tell he's just getting completely outgrinded. And at no point in this duel, outside of the first turn, when he used the evenly matched and cracked the Pendulum player's board, at no point do you actually feel, past that one small instance, do you actually feel that he's going to win. And then he goes for a card that I hadn't seen in a while. He goes for Abyss Dweller, and that makes things really bad, because now he can't activate his rocket effects. He activates Script Draw, that gets hit with Ash Blossom, and he just says, I'm gonna kill myself. But you see the difference when Rockets actually face like a meta deck, man. It's just, it is absolutely no match. And I feel like the only way to try and get Rockets up to, I don't want to say meta speed, because I just think inherently the deck won't be there, but the only way to, I would say, even try to keep them up with the level of meta decks is, I don't know, I think they need more speed. And I'm not sure how much more support that they're going to get, if they're going to get cards in Flames of Vengeance or not. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they ended up getting like another Link monster that was really good. But I think that cards like Scapegoat and Soul Charge, like cards that can get you a ton of monsters on the board quickly, those might be the cards that you need to look at, because there's no reason for you to have kind of no plays. And Gofu did help him out throughout these three duels, but I don't know, I felt like Gofu was his only really big power play outside of evenly matched in all those duels. So if you guys are interested in the deck list, I will have it in the description of this video. Thank you guys for watching as always. Lastly, I don't want people thinking that all I did was spend this entire video just kind of roasting the duelists who were playing, because people might be like, Cap G, why you being so mean? I just don't want people running like suboptimal cards in their build and thinking that that's the norm. Like Senate Switch is definitely not the norm in a deck like Jack Knights, and you know, you definitely want to be using those Ties of the Brethren turn 1 if you're playing Magical Musketeers. So when people make like huge misplays and stuff like that, I'm definitely going to call it out, even though I'm not trying to roast anybody. So whatever you guys thought, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on those notifications for daily videos. I guess I can say the Pendulum player, he played really good, and so did the Rokket player, but the other two, not so much.